Welcome to Pammie Plus Parks. I am Pammie, your plus size fairy godmother, bringing you all the magic Disney, Universal, and Florida have to offer plus size people. And this evening's weekly chat topic is how to do Disney solo and plus size. And I'm really surprised I actually haven't covered this topic for you a little sooner because I go to the parks all the time to vlog by myself and probably have over 30 trips logged in all by myself. So I do have a lot of tips and tricks to offer you. And any gaps that I might have in my knowledge for people who are traveling via plane and using other methods of travel, I've actually done a lot of research for you to be able to help answer those questions for you. So I'm excited to share with you how to make the most of your solo trip to Walt Disney World. Solo trips are getting more and more popular, not just to Disney, but to theme parks in general. And I think a lot of the information that I'm going to share with you tonight isn't just usable at Disney. I think you can use it at any theme park whatsoever. But before we get started with jumping into the main topic, I do want to give you a couple of updates on the Facebook group and this YouTube channel. And right now I'm actually setting up here for the chat, so I can chat with you live. So let's start off with what's going on with Pammie Plus Parks on Facebook. I'm really excited to share with you guys that the people that I have extended invitations to become members of the administrative team have all agreed to join the team. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm going to be sending them out some information on guidelines for administrators and moderators, a little bit of training materials, and hopefully have everybody up and running and feeling comfortable and ready to go by mid-February. So if you want more information on that and who the moderators are and introduction to them and all that sort of thing, you'll see more of that in the Facebook group. And if you aren't a member of Pammie Plus Parks on Facebook, you can go ahead and go look in the description down below and you will see a link to the group there if you're interested in joining. You can do that after the live chat or after you finish watching the video or anytime that you want to, really. So that's what's great about what's going on with Facebook, and I'm really excited about that and to have this wonderful team of people to be the administrative team and keep things running along smoothly as the group grows. And I have been seeing the group grow from like about 50 to 100 members every week, and I expect it may grow even faster as I begin coverage of Universal Studios. And that's where I want to give you an update with the YouTube channel here, Pammie Plus Parks on YouTube. This past Sunday, I was supposed to go to Universal Studios and film my very first video there, get my annual pass, and actually visit Universal Studios for the first time in 22 years. Well, we had terrible storms here. We had a high of like in the 50s, and we had 100% chance of rain all day long. And it was also Gasparilla weekend in the Tampa Bay area. It's kind of Florida's version of Mardi Gras, but with pirates. So there may have been a lot of people celebrating and driving around on the roads in the rain, and I just felt like I would be safer if I stayed home. So that's what I did. Plus I was recovering from a cold. So I will try and get to that this weekend. If not, don't worry, I have another video ready to load, so you will get more theme park content Sunday night into Monday morning. So you won't miss out on anything like that. And I also wanted to give you a little life update. Those of you who follow the channel, who follow the Facebook group, know that this past Thursday, I skipped the live chat, because we usually do a live chat every Thursday at 8 p.m. because I was not feeling well. And I asked people if they thought it would be okay in our Facebook group, and you guys were amazingly supportive. So thank you so much. I did get to rest. Yes, I did end up posting a video on Thursday night, but it was a video I had already been working on, and I only had to spend like another hour or so, which I did in my pajamas. And I finished editing it in my pajamas, and then I went ahead and I posted the video. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was the mega haul video where I showed you all the things that I bought over the holiday season with gift cards and the things that I received as gifts, including this blouse that I'm wearing right now, which I got from Torrid. So go check that video out if you haven't seen it already, if you're interested in fashion. It's a fun video. I had a great time filming it for you. All right, that about wraps up the updates. Let me just take a quick second to say hello to everyone who's here before I jump into the live chat topic. Buddy's here. Buddy is our moderator, one of our moderators. If Christina's here, she's a moderator as well. And Jenny's here. Christina's, okay, so Christina's here as well too. So those are our moderators for this live chat right now. So they'll be keeping an eye on everything and helping to answer questions if I happen to miss any questions. Karen's here too, fantastic. Hello, Amy. Amy Jones is the person who gave me the gorgeous orange bird dress. If you guys got to see that in in that haul video that I did, the mega haul video. Susan's here, Alicia. Hello, Candace. Barbara's here, Dawn. Carol, hello. Carol said she got the Terra and Sky sweatshirts and sweatpants that I had in my video. Would never have tried them if you didn't share. Plus, I got them each for $1. Oh my gosh, you got quite the deal, quite a sale. So yeah, in that mega haul, I covered, you know, Torrid, one of my favorite stores, Shop Disney, HSN, and I also got some stuff from Walmart. So a whole wide range of prices of things for you guys to check out in that video. Hello, Jenna G. Allison's here. Mary is here. Frankie's here. Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? I know it's cold where a lot of you live, especially you, Frankie, in Maine. It's got to be freezing. Thank you so much for joining in this live chat tonight. If you are interested in contributing to the channel and helping make sure that I am able to continue to make more wonderful videos for you, Super Chat should be active for you. Yeah, it looks like it. So you can use Super Chat to make a contribution, or if you prefer, there is a link to PayPal down below in the description. And for my friends who are overseas who like to make contributions, that PayPal account actually is a little lighter on your wallet. So you might want to consider using that. All right, let's get started in the main topic. So as I mentioned earlier, I am local to the parks, or semi-local. I live in the Tampa Bay area, so I have a 2-hour drive to and from the parks. So that's my version of travel, of getting to and from the park. So I know a lot of you, when you're traveling solo to theme parks, you're often doing air flight and stuff like that. So I did a little research about that and what it's like to travel solo with flying, which I actually have done a lot of solo flying for business, but I wanted to look into it, what it's like to fly solo to Disney. So I have a little bit of information about that as well. And please forgive me, everyone, I do have the remnants of that cold. I might have to use some Kleenex or a cough drop or some water, so please bear with me, and my voice may or may not make it through the live chat. We'll see. So I'd like to start off by talking about what it's like to plan as a person who is a solo traveler. And please make sure you put your comments and your thoughts and experiences if you have like some things to share too down below. And in between each section, I'll stop and see what you guys had to live chat. But the first section is about planning and how to plan and budget as a solo traveler. A lot of times it can be a lot cheaper for you because you're only buying one plane ticket and only one dining plan if you're doing a dining plan, or you're only feeding one person. But you may also want to incorporate into your budget the cost of Uber. If you're staying off property, which can be a lot cheaper, you are going to have to also factor in what it will cost to take cabs or Uber or Lyft or something like that to and from the parks if you're planning to do things outside of the Disney bubble, or even just getting back and forth from your hotel. A lot of the hotels and motels in the area do have free transportation to the theme parks, but oftentimes their earliest pickup is, you know, like only an hour before the park opens, and then they stop off at 4 or 5 hotels before they get to you, and on the way to the parks they stop off at all 4 parks before they get to the park that you're going to, and it can actually take you a couple of hours to get there. And if you're hoping to rope drop, using transportation that's provided by your hotel for free, if it's an off-property bus or charter or something like that, that can take you a lot longer than if you just took Uber or Lyft. So you want to make sure you factor that into your budget, especially if you're staying off property. So yes, there are some ways that you can save a little bit of money when you're traveling by yourself, but there may be other ways that you need to kind of add into some extra things in your budget to cover travel and transportation like that. One of the great things about flying alone that I found is that you often have a greater chance of getting your seat upgraded because, if they have a single seat or 2 seats that are available in a higher class seating area on a plane, when you're the person traveling by yourself, a lot of times you're a lot more likely to be gifted or upgraded that spot. So keep that in mind. So flying by yourself can be actually quite a great thing. And one of the things that I've heard in my research and from other people who've traveled solo is they told me that the hardest part of traveling solo to Disney or any theme park, but especially Disney, is taking the Magical Express to your Disney resort and standing there amongst a bunch of other people who are with family and friends, and you might feel really awkward standing there by yourself. But here's the thing, you shouldn't really feel weird about that because more and more people are doing solo trips to theme parks and especially to Walt Disney World. And really, for all anyone knows that's standing there with you, you might be on a business trip or headed to a convention because there's a lot of conventions that take place at the Disney resorts. So you might be traveling for business to go to a convention at one of those resorts and also taking advantage of visiting the parks while you're there. You might be conducting business with Disney. You might have a job interview with Disney. You might be going to a wedding as a wedding guest or part of a bridal party. And you might just simply be traveling from another part of the country and meeting friends and family to have a family reunion. So there's so many reasons why you would travel alone. So if you feel awkward because you're the only person who's traveling alone while you're standing there waiting for the Magical Express and you see all these families and friends and couples relating with one another, don't feel weird and think that people are looking at you and judging you. They're probably just making these assumptions about you that you're traveling for business, you're traveling for a convention, or you're there to meet other people. And you know what? There really is nothing wrong with you traveling by yourself and going to the parks alone. You really shouldn't feel self-conscious about that. People are so wrapped up in what they're doing with their own vacations. They're not really looking at you. They're worried about their own luggage. They're worried about their own resort. They're not really going to pay much attention to you. But I do understand how that could feel awkward to you the first time that you're traveling by yourself. But keep in mind, there's lots of people who travel alone all the time. I had a job for a couple of years where I traveled, almost weekly. I flew all over the country all the time. I was constantly alone when I traveled. I was constantly at restaurants alone. And when you're first doing it, it feels weird, but then after you do it, you just get used to it, and it just seems like no big deal at all. So, but don't feel weird about it because most people who travel quite a bit do know that people travel by themselves and they don't think it's strange at all. But let's go ahead and take a look at what some of you have to say so far about solo traveling here. Let's see. All right. Carol says, why not go solo? Would never go if not for going solo. And for some people that's the case because they have family members or friends who don't like Disney and won't go with them. Sometimes you have someone who's just not able to keep up with the pace of going to a theme park, or they don't want to go when it's hot, or whatever their reasons are. So, sometimes you don't really have a choice but to go on your own because you might not know anyone who wants to go to a theme park or shares that love with you. And that's okay. It's okay to do stuff that you like by yourself. I look at it like this. If you feel awkward about traveling by yourself, look at it like this. You'll go and you'll get your oil changed by yourself. You'll go to the dentist by yourself. You'll go to a doctor's appointment by yourself. You'll go get your taxes done by yourself. You'll go grocery shopping by yourself. You will do all these really menial, boring, horrible, lousy, awful, unfun things by yourself. But you won't go to Disney by yourself? Something fun and enjoyable? I don't get that. Then there's things that you do on the day-to-day basis that you do by yourself and you think nothing of it. Like I would think nothing of going to the mall and grabbing a bite to eat at the food court for lunch and going shopping by myself. You would think nothing of it. You think nothing of hopping in the car and heading off to CVS and picking something up at the drugstore by yourself. You think nothing of going to the grocery store and shopping by yourself. Where there's tons of things that we do alone, very commonplace, and we never think anything about the fact that, hey, you're by yourself doing that thing. But just because it might be a menial or sort of boring day-to-day task, we just take it for granted. And, you know, you can do fun stuff by yourself too. You can do things that you enjoy. You can go to the movies. You can go, you know, you go get your hair done by yourself, or go get a manicure or pedicure by yourself, or some people, they'll go play golf by themselves. You know, there are lots of things that you can do alone and still have fun. And sometimes the experience is even better because you're not having to think about other people. And I think for people like myself who tend to be planners, and people who really like to look after other people, who like to serve other people, who like to make sure everyone's happy around them, you know, going someplace by yourself is awesome because you're actually going, oh, what do I want to do? You know, and you get to do the things that you want to do. So Carol, you brought up a really good point there. We have Makova is here for the first time in our live chat. That's fantastic. Oh, Kristen says it's negative 24 last night and negative 54 with the wind chill where she lives. That is crazy cold. I'm not going to tell you what it's like in Florida because it's not bad. Millie says she's got 2 solo trips planned this year. That's amazing, Millie. I love that. That's fantastic. Oh, my husband, I don't know, did you guys see? He said I left the stove on because I came home from work and I like immediately started rushing to make dinner, and I made dinner and everything, and then I soaked the dishes and I ran in here and started doing this live stream, and I left the oven on. I do that every Thursday that I cook. I leave the oven on, so I think I think he's gotten used to that by now. I bet you anything he went in there to do the dishes for me though. That's so funny. And Susan says she really loves staying on property and staying in the magic, and that you're a fan of the bus. That's awesome. I'm glad that you enjoy that Magical Express ride. That is fantastic. Thank you, Candace. These are newer ears. I've only had these a few weeks. I love them. Let's see. You guys are making plans to try to meet up with each other in the parks and here in the live chat. That's so cool. I'm trying to, let's see. Main Street Moment says, my husband is getting used to it. It gives you more freedom and no committee choices. That's true, Main Street Moments. When you are traveling by yourself, that's the only thing though you have to keep in mind. If you are going by yourself and you tend to be a people pleaser and you tend to be a person who plans things for other people, you need to make sure that you plan or list or figure out the things that you want to do, because that's kind of a thing that I find will happen. I'll be like, okay, I went on 3 rides that I really like. Now what? You know, give yourself a plan of all the different things that you want to do. Eat something you would never eat. Eat in a restaurant you would not normally eat in. Go into a store that you would not normally go into. Sit in an area that you've never sat in and just absorb the music and absorb the sights and sounds around you, and people watch. These are all fantastic things to do to kind of like really soak up the magic around you. Okay, so Carol was saying she booked a hotel for $35 a night at the Ramada Inn for February 9th to 11th. That's amazing. Let's see. And Jenny says, being blind, this is one of the few things I will admit to not being able to do. Most things I just kind of, oh, sorry, I missed it. Most things I go ahead and try anyway, but if I could, I would without hesitation. It sounds like so much fun, and it can be a lot of fun. And maybe what you need to do, Jenny, or take into consideration is seeing if you can, if your travel companion would be willing to have it be all about you, and you plan the trip all about what you want to do, and they would have to be really willing to put aside their own like hopes and wishes and dreams and just like really concentrate on what you want to do. And if you can find a friend or family member that's willing to do that, and I hope that you do, that would be awesome. You definitely deserve to have that kind of a trip, Jenny. Allison says she's never traveled anywhere by herself before and just booked her first solo trip for August. You are going to find it's going to be a little awkward the first time that you travel alone, but it's only awkward because it's awkward in your mind because nobody else is really paying attention to it. So I have a little bit more to share with you about that. Let's see. Buddy says, when we go, I will go out by myself, usually in the morning, to shoot video or just wander. I will meet up with the group eventually, but it's fun to venture out solo. That's something worth taking into consideration. The next time you go on a trip, whether it's to a theme park or wherever that you're traveling, set aside a little bit of time to spend by yourself. If you really are nervous about traveling alone, you travel with your group and then break off with them for an hour or 2 hours, or get up a little bit earlier, or just set some time aside in the middle of the day where you do a little shopping by yourself or you go to a restaurant by yourself. Just do one thing by yourself every few days on your trip and see how that feels and get yourself acclimated to it. And let's see, Queen Maja says, my issues are September will be really hot but not as busy. February will be cooler but probably packed because of the Star Wars land. I mean, we're really at the point now with so many new things having been released over the last several years, like the new Fantasyland opening, the Toy Story Land. Then we've got all kinds of things opening up in each of the parks: Guardians of the Galaxy, Ratatouille, Mickey Mouse's Runaway Railway, and then you're going to have Star Wars Land. There's just so much that's going to be opening up that you're always going to have a lot of traffic at the parks over the next few years. It's just the way it's going to be. Let's see. Millie Clappis says she's trying Boma this time. My friend was a picky eater and I didn't want to try different foods. See, that's exactly it. When you're going alone, you can eat anywhere you want to and try things that other people in your party might not want to try. Let's see. Jennifer said, I think I might have to start going solo. Just moved an hour away and haven't made friends yet and can only drag my boyfriend to Disney so many times. Yeah, just go. Just go. You have to start. Thank you so much for that wonderful $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. When you guys do a super chat like that, it puts your comment or your question at the top of my queue, and it allows me an extra minute or two to actually get at it and respond to you. So please feel free to use that if you've got a special question or a comment that you want me to read and react to. That is super, super helpful. Thank you again for that super chat. Thank you for the $20. Is it Celicia Gunn? Thank you. Please keep up the great work you're doing. Thank you, Celicia. It's because of people like you that I'm able to keep doing it. And I'm super, super happy that you find the videos helpful and useful. I'm glad that you do. I really put a lot of love into it, so I'm super glad that you do find it helpful. Christina says, I rode the People Mover by myself while everyone else in my group did Space Mountain. It isn't a high energy ride, but totally different experience. Really peaceful. Loved it. Yeah, I totally recommend that, Christina. It's really fun to go on a ride by yourself because you're not watching the people around you and your friends and family. You're just looking at things and soaking it in. And every time I go on a ride by myself, and remember, I've been to Walt Disney World getting close to 700 times now since 1971, and I always see new things. Every time I'm by myself, I see new things. I see a detail I never saw before. And one of my favorite stories I love to tell is how one time I was in front of the Haunted Mansion and I sat down for a second and I looked down and I realized on the bench there were dragons on the bench, which I'd noticed, these gargoyle-ish looking dragons. But what I'd never noticed before is the people who maintained the benches painted little tiny red eyes on every single gargoyle and dragon on the bench. And I was blown away by that detail. Those are the kinds of little details that you see when you're on a solo trip. Dawn says, I've been hoping to do a solo trip to Disneyland, traveled alone before, but this is a dream of mine. And I'll tell you what, that will be a dream come true trip. You will love it. Love it, love it, love it. Queen Maja, 700 times. Yeah, I mean, that counts everything. That counts the times that I went to Pleasure Island when I was in my teens and 20s. That counts every time I've ever had a meal at a resort on a first date. That counts everything. That counts all of the things. Having grown up in Florida and, I went at the minimum 5 times a year just to Walt Disney World alone into the parks. And then on top of that, we would do resorts and we would do all kinds of things like that. So it added up. And I started going when I was a year and a half in 1971. So, and I just never stopped going. It adds up. All right, let's get back to some of the topics that I have for you here. So You know, some of the things that can also feel awkward while you're on your very first solo trip is like when you're waiting in line in restaurants in quick services. You can avoid that because most of the quick service, well, or a number of the quick service restaurants within the parks have mobile ordering. So you can order your food ahead using your cell phone and have it waiting for you when you get to the restaurant, and you can just go up and grab your tray and go find some place to sit. And if you really feel self-conscious about sitting alone in a quick service restaurant, I recommend going early, or even any restaurant, making a very early lunch reservation for around 11 a.m. or making an early dinner reservation for 4 p.m. because then the dining room will be, unless you're going at Christmas time or spring break or a major holiday, the dining room will pretty much be empty and you'll be on your own. But honestly, the more empty a dining room is, the more awkward I personally feel. I feel like when I'm in a very crowded dining room, I'm less noticeable because everybody's paying attention to each other, to their own family, their own group. So, you know, but if you don't want to have a lot of people sitting around and seeing that you're on your own, sometimes it can be easier to get there and eat earlier or eat outdoors and find a corner table outdoors. Sometimes that's easier too. And another thing that can feel awkward is waiting in line for rides, to be in a queue in a ride. But at Magic Kingdom, and I think the other parks are starting to do this too, they have the Play Disney app. So you can play games. Many of the games are meant to be played solo to kind of occupy yourself on your cell phone. You can text people, you can stay on top of your social media, you can take some pictures and post them on Instagram, you know, and just keep yourself occupied on your cell phone. But I personally don't like to do that, believe it or not. I almost never take my cell phone out when I'm in a queue unless I'm taking a picture or I have to answer a phone call or a text. I just like keeping my social media put away, my phone put away, and just look at the queue because so many of the queues are beautifully designed. I like to look at all the details, and I listen to the people around me and their conversations, and sometimes people will talk to me. They'll just strike up a conversation. If my face isn't buried in my phone, they might go, I've actually had people say, "Are you here by yourself?" Like that. And I've said, "Yeah, I'm on my own. I'm a vlogger, or, I just wanted to have a nice day on my own. I just felt like coming here." For me, because I live so close to the parks, going to the parks now, because I've done it so much by myself, is pretty much no different than like going to the mall. If the mall had a castle and rides and and singing and dancing and shows, it doesn't feel much different than that. I mean, obviously Disney feels magical. I mean, no matter how many times I go, but the concept of going by myself doesn't feel any more intimidating than going to the mall by myself. So, and here's one of the things that's interesting too. A lot of times when I take a meal by myself, whether it's in a quick service or in a sit-down restaurant, I find that like cast members will approach me and talk to me much more often. And you know why? Because cast members, when they're on their days off, often go to the parks by themselves too. And so a lot of times they'll come up to me and go, "Oh, which park do you work in?" Or "Where do you work?" Or "Do you work in this park? You look familiar." And the reason why I look familiar is because I'm there all the time. But yeah, I'll strike up conversations all the time with cast members when they realize I'm on my own because they think I'm another cast member. So that's one of the things that's interesting too. So there are so many people inside the parks on their own, and here's why. Because cast members are there on their own. Annual pass holders like myself go all the time by themselves. Sometimes people are there for conventions and business meetings and things like that, because a lot of the Disney resorts and even like the Swan and Dolphin, they all have like convention centers and convention things set up there. So people are there on business, and then after their meetings are over, they head into the parks, or they have a free day to go into the parks and they'll go by themselves. So there's just tons. I mean, when you start going by yourself and you go by yourself regularly, you start noticing there's a lot of people in the parks on their own, and it's getting to be a more popular sort of a thing to do. Okay, the next section I'm going to talk to you about is some of the things that you can do to enjoy yourself when you're solo in the park. We've talked about some of them, but I have a few here that I'm going to hit on as well. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at what you guys have been saying. Carol says that she likes to take pictures that show my new finds. and all the super cool details that she sees. So all the little details and things that she sees, she takes the time when she's by herself to kind of document those and share them in photographs. I think that's awesome. Cheryl Meadows is asking, would you say August 1st is a good or bad time to go? Here's the thing. I really don't know that there's a bad time to go to Disney. There's times that I would recommend more over others. Like I would recommend not going right at Christmas time if you don't want to be around a lot of crowds. I would recommend not going from June until the end of November if you don't like warm weather. I would recommend not going in August and in September. I would recommend not going in September and October if you want to avoid hurricane season, if you don't like rain, because it will rain off and on throughout the day, almost every day. Not hard, not bad. You know, usually for short periods of time you don't have rain all day long. There's different times of the year that are good, that are better than others for people for whatever reasons. You really, if you are Cheryl, I think one of the things that you should do is you should try visiting a Disney planning site and be very specific about the things you do and do not like about the idea of traveling to a theme park or traveling in Florida. And then kind of narrow down based on those answers when you ask that question. Put in there some more details like, is August 1st a bad time to go if you hate crowds or if you don't like rain or if you don't like heat? And let people help you make that decision by giving you information on their experience. Because it's kind of hard, because for me, August 1st is a great time to go because I live here and I don't mind the heat and I don't mind rain, so it doesn't bother me at all. But for other people, it could be extremely unbearable. Carol says that while she stands alone in line and queues for rides and so forth, that she'll talk to people around her and people share their stories with her. I think that's fantastic. I tend to do the same thing too. I'm a busybody in the sense that if I hear somebody say something inaccurate, I jump in and I'm like, I'm sorry, I overheard you say such and such is over here. It's actually on the other side of the park. Here, let me show you the map. There's this one time when somebody was looking for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride or something at Magic Kingdom, and they couldn't understand why they weren't finding it, and they had looked around the area they thought it was, but it didn't seem right, and I said, you know, which app are you looking at? And they were looking at like the My Experience app for Disneyland rather than Magic Kingdom, so I was able to help them with that. So sometimes I jump in and help people. Susan says, I look forward to seeing Toy Story Land, the lines and everything. I think it's just great to look around. I agree. Those are some fantastic queues that they have over on Toy Story Land. There's tons to look at while you're in the queue. Dunlap says, I'll be there next week, Monday at the parks. That's fantastic. Carol says, I made friends with a hang at the Light and Water Show and gave his parents a nice break from him. Plus, I'm a baby whisperer. Oh, you made friends with a baby at the Light and Water Show and gave the baby's parents a nice break from him. You're a baby whisperer. That's awesome. Alexis, you're welcome, and I thank you for watching us. I'm very happy to do whatever I can to help make your trips to Disney like more enjoyable, more relaxing, and help you make amazing memories that will last a lifetime. And anything I can do to help with that, I'm happy to do so. So some of the things that we talked about that you can do to sort of occupy yourself, because I do think when you're going by yourself, you don't have to stop for every single person when they have to go to the bathroom. You don't have to wait for people a million hours. You don't have to argue. You don't have to rest. You can rest when you want to. You eat when you want to. You drink when you want to. You take however long you want to do things. And usually that means you race through things and you get through a lot of stuff really fast. And the next thing you know, you've gone on all the rides you wanted to, and you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs going, what am I going to do for the rest of my day? So you don't realize how much time you spend dickering and talking and sort of debating things with people in your party when you're traveling. And when you're by yourself, it really speeds things up because you don't have anyone to kind of satisfy or make conversation with. So what you need to do as a solo traveler is slow down. And Carol says she likes to take lots of pictures of the details she sees. I think it's a great idea to find guidebooks and things like that with little tips and tricks about Disney and Disney secrets, behind the scenes stuff, because watch some videos on YouTube about the history of Disney and the history of the rides, so that when you go in the rides or when you stand in the queues, you can look for all those little details that you read about or saw in YouTube videos. There's a book out there called Hidden Mickeys, and it's updated all the time, hidden Mickeys throughout the Walt Disney World, and you can look for all the little hidden Mickey Mouses everywhere. Take time to look for him and just take in every detail that you can. And one of the things I like to do too when I'm on my own, if I don't feel like going on a lot of rides or I'm taking a break from rides, is as I walk down the street, like for instance down Main Street, I'll stop and there's like 5 or 6 different photographers, and I'll have pictures taken with every single photographer all the way down Main Street. But anytime you see an opportunity to have your photo with a character, or you see a photographer walking around and taking pictures, let them, take your pictures. Sometimes they are just assigned to an area and not to a particular spot, and they wander a little bit. And if you run into somebody and you can say, hey, will you take some pictures, and just get some great pictures done, and ask them, if they're not busy with somebody else, like what kind of cool poses you can do, you can end up with some really, really great pictures that way. But make sure that you slow down. One of the benefits of traveling solo is taking advantage of the single rider lines. And currently, the following rides have single rider lines: Everest in Animal Kingdom, Test Track at Epcot, Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios. So all of those have single rider lines that are designated for people from beginning to end who are on their own. And that line is usually faster than any other line. In fact, Mark and I never get fast passes for Test Track because there's no point. We just use single rider. We don't ride together on the ride. We end up riding separate as the third person in the car. But we're usually 1 or 2 cars apart from one another. It's just not that big a deal for us to ride it together because we've ridden it together so many times. So a lot of times if we feel like riding it, we just do single rider. And of course, when you're by yourself, it makes it go faster too. Then there are some rides that have a hybrid single rider. They don't have a designated single rider line. However, there's a point in the line, or at some point during the course of you standing in the queue, a lot of times something will happen where they have like an extra seat, and they need to fill it with a single rider. And rides like that would happen to be like Mission to Mars, Slinky Dog, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, the Kilimanjaro Safari, and Flight of Passage. So although they don't have a designated single rider line, at some point as you get closer and closer to anywhere from like 15 to 5 minutes before you actually get to the area where you board the ride, you'll start seeing cast members go, do we have a single rider? Do we have a single rider? We need one. Is there a party one? Party one? And they start looking for people, parties of 3 or parties of 1. And that's like a great way to skip over anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes of your wait because you're traveling by yourself. So be aware of that. Keep your eyes and ears open on rides like Mission to Mars, Slinky Dog, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Kilimanjaro Safari, and Flight of Passage, so that if you happen to hear a cast member say that they're looking for a party of 3, you can go, I'm single rider, like this, because then they'll take a party of 2 and you. And it's a great way to kind of jump the line if you want to get, and that helps you, like for certain rides you can go on them over and over again because you do them as a single rider. Let's take a look at what you guys are saying and check in with you. Let's see. Christina asked, do you park hop if you are going solo, or do you just stay in the same park all day? Well, generally what I'm doing when I'm going solo now, I generally, I've always just stayed in the same park. I don't know why. I never really thought of that before, but yeah, I usually just stay where I'm at. There's been a couple of times where I park hopped, where Mark and I wanted to go to 2 different parks, but we both wanted to go to Disney, but we just didn't want to go to the same park. And we went to separate parks. And then we hopped back to one another. Like one time Mark wanted to go to Epcot and I had to make a video at Magic Kingdom. So we both drove to Epcot, and then I just took the monorail over to Magic Kingdom, and then when I was done I came back and met him. There's been times when I've been with Mark and I wanted to go meet some friends for a little bit, and I've taken off and he's stayed in whatever park he's in, usually Epcot, and I've like hopped over to Hollywood Studios and come back again and met back up with him. So, I mean, I haven't really ever gone into a park alone and then park hopped, but I have with other people and then park hopped by myself and back and forth. So, yes, I've done that before, but usually I am vlogging when I'm by myself. So, I usually have a plan to make a bunch of videos in that one park, and I don't do a ton of park hopping. But now that I think about it, I actually have done it before. I have done a thing where I've vlogged a whole bunch of videos in one park and then park hopped over to another park to go meet friends. So I guess I kind of have done it, but it's not been something I usually plan. I usually like to stay in the same park if I can. Tyrannicus says, I'm going to Walt Disney World next week with my girlfriend who also watches your videos. Thanks for all your helpful videos, family, especially your recent turnstiles one. You are welcome. You are very welcome. The turnstiles question is one that a lot of people have asked over the years in many different, I say years, but like the year and a half or so that or almost 2 years that I've been following different Disney parks, plus size Facebook groups. A lot of people ask questions about the turnstiles, and so I finally decided I'm just going to do a video for it. And man, that was a labor of love because that took me all day long because there are definitely 12 turnstiles at Magic Kingdom. Someone mentioned to me that they think there's also one at Mickey's PhilharMagic, and I might have missed that one, so there may actually be 13 turnstiles at the park. But yeah, that took me all day to make that video. It was a labor of love. I'm so glad you guys really responded to it and that it's been so helpful for so many people because it was not an easy one to make and it wasn't an easy one to edit, but it's definitely one that could be very helpful. So I'm really glad that I finally did that. Allison says, I'm looking forward to being at Walt Disney World in September and being there for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and seeing all the rare characters. That is fantastic. I loved doing that too. Be prepared if you're going to go. Here's my recommendation for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party because the lines can be very long for many of the popular face character meet and greets. Get there early as you can for the party and get in line before the party starts. You may be waiting in line for a half hour to an hour before the park opens, before you're able to actually get in and see your character, but it is a way to do it. And I would just limit myself to like maybe 2 popular characters because it can be up to an hour long wait for the more popular ones like Jack and Sally or the seven dwarves or something like that. Limit it or you're going to end up spending your entire night standing in line for character pictures. There are some ones that are shorter. I did one with the Gravediggers with Mark when we went. We had a photo session with the Gravediggers. That was amazing. And then I did another one by myself with the Hitchhiking Ghost. That was fantastic. So there's some that have very short waits because they're not as popular, but the pictures that you get from it are so much fun that they're worth doing. And also, the iconic one to get when you first get in the park is the one at the front of the park where you have the castle in the background with the big pumpkins. That's fantastic. I recommend doing that one too. Dunlap Entertainment asks, what's the best restaurant you would recommend and agree? I love going by myself. You don't have to deal with other people's issues. That's true. The best restaurant that I would recommend... That's a tough one. I have a bunch of favorites. At Magic Kingdom, I love Columbia Harbor House, but that's really the only restaurant that I really, really like that's inside the park. That's like a major favorite. I do like outside of the park. I really, really liked 1900 Park Fare for breakfast. It was amazing. There's so many restaurants I haven't tried yet, though. A bunch of them at Disney Springs I haven't done. I've always wanted to try Boma. I do really enjoy all of the restaurants in Morocco at Epcot. The Tangerine Cafe is fantastic for a quick service. The food is really fresh tasting. You have salads as your sides. It's just like, to me, I like to get away from doing burgers and fries and fried food and stuff like that. Although you can get fries with in place of the salads if you want at Tangerine Cafe. Spice Road Table is a favorite. They have lots of great small plates and tapas if you are looking for a lighter meal or a light dinner, like a lunch or a light dinner during the hotter months. and they have full size entrees that are extremely satisfying and super delicious. And then Restaurant Marrakesh, they have the floor show with the dancing and the live music that is just fabulous. And the food is wonderful and the service is amazing. So that's a favorite. I mean, I have a lot of different favorites that I really enjoy there, and still a lot of places that I haven't tried yet. So those are just a few of them. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot Sci-Fi Diner. Thank you, Carol. The Sci-Fi Diner is one of the best restaurants in all of the park. If you want, like, of all of the parks, if you're looking for dining inside the park and you're looking for something that's really well themed and really good food, Sci-Fi Diner for sure. I did a video for that, so you should try and do a search for that, or maybe I'll try to put a link in the bottom of this in the description after the video posts, if I can remember. But yeah, like Sci-Fi Diner is, the food is it's out of this world. Pardon my pun. Christina says, Citrico's at Grand Floridian is exceptional. Also Morimoto and the Boathouse in Disney Springs. Oh, fantastic. 50s Prime Time is good too. I've seen the food there. I haven't actually had the food at the 50s Prime Time. It looks like it's kind of heavy and very, very filling, and maybe that would be good during the colder months. But the table service is very unique, and the servers are very sassy, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. Carol says she park hopped. She park hopped on her last day last month for the first time. Loved it, and just went to a ride or two and then went to the next park. That's really cool. Some people do the thing where and I might have to do that in a video for you guys someday, where I do like the theme park challenge, where I do one ride and one photo in each park and do all 4 parks in one day. I'm gonna have to definitely do that as a challenge video for you guys at some point. I think that would be great. Tyrannica said, I'm glad you said 1900 Park Fair was great for breakfast. We're going there. We're hoping to see Mary Poppins and Pooh at least. Have you ever tried Teppan Edo in World Showcase? Teppan Edo, so many people love Teppan Edo, and I don't want to say anything bad about it, but here's my personal take on it. Teppan Edo is a hibachi grill restaurant, and I live in an area where there's like 4 or 5 different hibachi grill restaurants. They're like a dime a dozen. I don't think it's that special. I also, in looking at the way the restaurant is set up, the rooms are very small. The ceilings seem rather low. The tables are right on top of each other. And when you walk past it to use the restrooms, like I like to eat at Tokyo Dining. So when I walk through Tokyo Dining and then past Teppan Edo to use the restrooms, I'm like, oh, the grease, the smell of the oil. And during the summertime when it's hot, and then it's super, super hot in there because of the low ceilings and the smaller room and the close quarters and body heat and the heat from the grills. It's just, it's like almost overwhelming to me, and I don't know how people enjoy that. I don't think the food is special. I think it's just meats that are chopped up on our grill, and they give you a little show or whatever, but they do that at any hibachi restaurant. Any Japanese steakhouse hibachi restaurant has that. I don't think it's special. I just don't. I prefer to eat at Tokyo Dining. Your servers are beautifully dressed. It feels more traditional. The foods may not necessarily be traditional Japanese foods all around, but the food is very delicious. It's very well prepared. Even the more Western entrees that they have are delicious, as well as the sushi is fantastic. I just think the quality of the food is better, and I like the fact that you have an amazing view of the Seven Seas Lagoon, and you have an amazing view of the World Showcase. It's just more serene, it's quieter, the service is just, I don't know, very relaxing and peaceful. I love it. I prefer Tokyo Dining much more. Main Street Mama says, go to Benihana. It's true. Millie is asking if anyone has done Beer Garden. I have not done Beer Garden, and I want to go so bad, and it's going to have to be a time when I'm on my own. Here's the thing, talking about traveling solo. Beer Garden is a family style, European style dining, meaning they put different families and different groups together at the same large table. And as a single person, I would be sitting with a bunch of different other people from other parties, but I would be by myself. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. But I plan to vlog. I want to vlog it. So that can be awkward. Vlogging while you eat. I'm just awkward all the time. I've gotten used to being awkward because most of the time when I'm eating in a theme park, if I'm going to spend money on a meal, I'm going to make it worth the while. I'm going to make you guys a video because you guys are contributing. You guys are contributing through Super Chat. You're contributing through PayPal. If you're contributing financially to me, I'm going to make every penny that I'm spending on that trip count, and I'm going to make a video for you. So I'm always vlogging while I eat. So like I go get the food and I vlog the food and talk about the food before I eat it. So I have the camera on the food. Then I set the camera up and I eat it on camera. I'm talking to the camera while I'm eating, and people at other tables are like, what is this crazy woman doing? Is she actually eating food and talking to a camera like a nut? But when you're doing that at some place like Beer Garden, I feel like, because you're sitting directly at a table with a bunch of other people, I'm worried that that might be awkward for them and upsetting for them, and I don't want to disturb somebody else's meal. So I don't know if I should go with a larger group of friends to that restaurant sometime and see if they can kind of help me with that and make it less awkward and be a buffer between me and the other parties at our table, so people don't have to feel weird about having a camera at their table while they're trying to eat. I don't know, but I definitely want to vlog that for you guys, and I definitely want to try it. And the reason why Mark and I haven't gone there yet is because Mark does not like German food. So I will not be going with him, but I have to find other friends to go with. And Buddy's offering me a seat at his table in March. I might have to join you for that. You and Mary will have to be my buffer. We'll have to see. All right, let's see. And this is the next topic, actually, was dining alone. And I had mentioned before, either eat very early or eat much later, and the tables in the dining room are less crowded, and you maybe will feel a little bit less awkward. But what I like to do when I am dining alone and I'm not vlogging, because sometimes I do go by myself just to enjoy myself for a relaxing day, I literally position myself in a way so that the wall is behind me and I can look at everyone around me in the dining room. I don't look at my phone. I don't bury my head in a book. I don't bury my head in a phone. I look at my food. I smell my food. I appreciate my food, and I slowly dine and I eat slowly. And as I'm chewing or whatever, or resting between mouthfuls, I look around at the people around me. I make sure I don't stare at any one particular person for too long, but I just kind of listen to what's going on around me. I check out the atmosphere. One good place to do that is at Be Our Guest during lunch, to really soak in the atmosphere of each of the rooms that are around you and all the details and all the decorations, and just kind of really absorb it and enjoy it. And if you're in a sit-down restaurant and you've really enjoyed your meal, you can say to your server, when your server comes to check on you, you could say, I'd like to give my compliments to the chef. And generally a chef will come out to your table and you can talk to them and tell them how much you enjoyed your meal in one of the sit-down restaurants. So if they have time, if they're not totally slammed, if it's not really swamped in the restaurant, usually a member of the staff, one of the chefs, will come out and talk to you for a couple of minutes if you tell your server that you would like to give your compliments to the chef. So that's like kind of a cool thing that you can do to have somebody come to your table. And that can be fun to do when you're solo. That might feel a little weird when you're with your friends or family, but it's actually kind of really nice when you're solo. And coming from a family of chefs, I can tell you that when the chefs love to hear that people want to tell you how much they enjoyed their meal. And a lot of the chefs that are working in the different sit-down restaurants helped develop the dishes that are being served to you. And they can tell you what they worked on, and it's completely fantastic to be able to connect with them on that way. I would like to share with you some of my favorite places to eat solo that I think are a great place to grab a meal and feel relaxed when you're by yourself. At Magic Kingdom, I really think all of the quick services work very well, but in particular, Gaston's Tavern, which is one of the reviews I did very recently, they have little tables in little nooks and crannies throughout the two different sides of the restaurant where you can grab a quick sandwich by yourself and feel comfortable, or you can take that sandwich with you someplace, maybe go sit in a grassy area or on a wall or at a little table outdoors and enjoy it and feel a lot less self-conscious. I do think that Crystal Palace can be a good place for that too, because they have little tables for two that are in little nooks and crannies and stuff, and you can feel a little more relaxed there if you're looking for a sit-down meal or a character meal. That could be a good one inside the parks. At Epcot, I do actually recommend Tep and Edo for eating alone, because it is a group seating situation where you're sat at a table with a bunch of other people. And because there's a little show going on in front of you, it's kind of, people aren't really focusing on the fact that you're sitting alone, and they're really not sure who's with who. So if you do feel strange about eating on your own and you want to do a sit-down dinner, Tep and Edo could be a good choice for you. I just don't recommend it in the summer when it's really hot, because those hibachi grills are really hot too, and you're sitting indoors, but you're not really having the opportunity to enjoy the air conditioning. I also think at Hollywood Studios, that Sci-Fi Dine-In can be a great place to eat on your own, because as a plus size person, they have the option of sitting at one of the tables. So it's a car, but instead of having the booths that are really hard to squeeze into, you can sit at a table. And the tables are at the very back of the restaurant, and they really aren't used that often. They're kept free for people who ask for them most of the time, unless it's super, super, super busy in the restaurant and it's slammed. Generally, those tables, there's always one or two, a bunch of the tables at the back that aren't even occupied. So you can ask to sit at one of those, and because everybody's facing forward, facing the screen, they don't even see you at the back of the restaurant by yourself. So that can be a much easier place to eat by yourself. At Animal Kingdom, if you want to have a sit-down meal, I think a good place to go is to the Yak and Yeti at the bar. So a lot of the different restaurants that have bars inside the parks, eating at the bar is actually a great choice, because you can sit at the bar and interact with the bartender and order all the same food that you would get inside the restaurant. You have this access to the same menu, but you're sitting in a single seat area, and you might feel more comfortable with that. A couple of places that are not inside the parks that are great places to have meals by yourself would be the Wave at the Contemporary Resort, because they actually have tables for two that are really small, and I see people eating there by themselves all the time. And I don't know, maybe they just got up earlier than their partner and they wanted to have breakfast alone, because I usually go there for breakfast. Or maybe they're just traveling alone. Maybe they're there to shop at the resort. I have no idea. But, I see people all the time by themselves in there, and they seem pretty comfortable. So I think that's a great place to go. Let's see what you guys have to say. You guys have a lot to say. You guys are chatting like crazy. Let's see. Shiloh says, I'm fixing to take a day and go to Disney alone. I need me a day. Yeah, you know what? I think it's, to me, going to Disney by yourself, especially if I'm not vlogging, to me, I'd rather do that than get a manicure and a pedicure. Because to me, it's very relaxing and a lot of fun. Where's the cheapest place to grab individual tickets coming in from out of town soon? You know what? I'm going to tell you this. There may be some places that you can go to for discounts, but here's what I would trust. AAA and Disney. I don't trust discount tickets from anywhere, because Disney doesn't really do discount tickets. They do special deals with packages that you buy from them, where you might get a deal on your tickets if you buy, 3-day pass or 4-day pass or something like that, or you buy a pass in a hotel room or whatever. They package things up like that. I really don't trust going anywhere except to a place where you have a discount with them, a travel agency or something like that, or like AAA. I hear so many horror stories of people trying to buy tickets and then buying tickets that are actually assigned to other people that are non-transferable, or they buy Magic Bands and tickets that are already used up and there's nothing on them, and they go to the park and they get stung that way. I would be very, very skeptical of that. Brian is here. He says he's enjoying the live chat as always. It would be wonderful if you could ever have a video with a chat from a higher up at Universal. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to talk to somebody at Universal about the fit of their rides for sure. You never know. Who knows? That could happen someday. And then discuss with them if they hear the concerns from the many poo-sized folks who feel left out of their parks. I imagine they know. I just wonder if there are any plans going forward to address it. Thanks, and feel better. Here's the thing, Brian. Back in November of last year, and you guys are probably sick of me talking about this in live chats, but it comes up almost every single time. But back in November of last year, Universal Studios applied for and received a patent for a new, sorry, my nose is getting, for a new restraint system. And this restraint system has, it's a belt that goes around the waist of the wearer, and it has a large, you can't see what I'm doing. The belt has a large ring on the front of it. Your restraints that come over your head can lock into that ring, or your restraint that comes down as a lap bar can lock into that ring. Now, I'm not entirely clear because I've seen the drawings, but I'm not entirely clear if the belt is attached to the seat and then you put it around your body, or if the belt is something you put on and then get on the ride. I'm not sure how exactly it works, but it's a restraint system that is specifically designed to fit people of different body sizes and styles. So that's interesting. I think Universal gets the picture. From what I understand, and I don't know this firsthand yet, but people have been telling me that on the busiest day at Disney, or even when it's not busy at Disney, you go over to Universal Studios and the wait times for rides and the crowds are so incredibly low compared to Disney. And it's because Disney is designed and they market to people of all ages and sizes. So you see ad campaigns out there for Disney, specifically for grandparents taking their littles there, their littlest grandchildren, and kids that are like 2 and 3 years old. You see ads out there for moms and dads and teenagers and young people and couples, romantic getaways. And they really are, Disney is marketing to everyone because you can fit on almost every single ride. Most of the rides are friendly to people who have reasonable, good physical health. Most of the rides are fairly accessible and can help, they have methods for loading people who have mobility concerns, most of the rides. So that's who they're marketing to. They're marketing to everyone, a much wider base. They're going to have more people who visit. They're going to do better as a park. Universal Studios, if you look at their ad campaigns over the last several years, they have marketed it to couples who are in maybe their early 40s, who have kids who range in age from like 10, 11, 12, 10 years old and up. They market to people in their 20s. They market to people in their teens. So for tweens, to people in their very early 40s, if that. The people who are supposed to be, like the parents of the kids, they're supposed to be in their 40s because the kids are middle school and high school age, so you'd think the parents were in their 40s, but the people who play the parents in the commercials and in the print ads look like they're in their mid-30s. So the park really, Universal, their marketing materials are designed to attract people who are in their tweens, really to their mid-30s. They're not marketing that park to people who are senior citizens, to grandparents, to people in their 40s. They're not marketing that park to people who may have mobility concerns because they can't help you. They got nothing for you. They just don't have a lot to offer a wide range of audience. They have created a park that caters to a very specific age range, and they're starting to feel it. I think they're starting to feel it. I think they're looking at Disney and seeing how well Disney is doing and how they're not doing bad. They're just not doing as well as they could if they had done a better job with the design of their rides and making their rides more inclusive. And I believe personally that we will see some changes with Universal as time goes on. Dancing Queen is asking again, where in Orlando can I get Disney tickets for the best price? Again, Dancing Queen, buy your tickets directly from Disney if you want to make sure that they're authentic, real tickets, or buy them from AAA if you have a AAA discount, or buy them through a certified, reliable, real travel agent. I would not try to buy cheap tickets somewhere else. Anybody else who's trying to get you a discounted ticket or a cheap ticket, Disney doesn't sell cheap tickets to people. They don't. They just don't do that. They sell the ticket. They want you to buy the ticket from them or from a reputable source like AAA. Again, I would urge you to not try to find some kind of a cheap source for it. You could find out that they're not authentic tickets. Christina says, it has been my experience that there aren't really any discount tickets for Walt Disney World. Places like Six Flags and Busch Gardens will offer discounts, but not really Walt Disney World. The only time Disney offers a discounted ticket is when you buy it as part of a package. Like if you are staying in a hotel, one of their resorts, and you're getting the dining plan, you'll get or you're buying for multiple days, then your ticket per day will be cheaper than the average single day ticket. But if someone's trying to tell you that they're going to sell you a cheaper ticket for Disney, I don't trust it at all. I just don't. There's too many horror stories out there. I would not be buying discounted tickets. There's no such thing. Christina says, check out Walt Disney World's website and they will show you which dates the tickets are the least expensive. And that's really the best bet, is to go and look and find a date and book yourself a trip at a time when it's less expensive tickets. Let's see. Carol's asking, have you ever done pin trading? Going to start doing that on the 9th, figured being solo, that would be a fun thing. I think pin trading is super cool and super fun, but you know, when I'm in the parks, I'm there with friends or family, and if I'm pin trading when I'm with friends and family, I'm there for them. You know, I'm there on a date night, or I'm there for a friend who's visiting out of town, and I feel like I need to dedicate my time to what they want to do, and I don't want to break away and go, well, I gotta go trade some pins, so you gotta wait for me. And then when I'm there on my own, I'm usually vlogging. And because I'm busy vlogging, I'm just not going to spend the time to do anything but concentrate on getting some work done and getting some videos made for you guys. So it's not something that I would really engage in. And really, to be frank with you, the finances that I have, you know, the ads pay for a little bit. Your contributions help pay for quite a lot. But the rest of it comes out of my own pocket. So any extra money I have, I am, you know, every now and then I treat myself to some ears, you know, because I have an annual pass holder discount. But I'm going to spend my money on trying to make videos for you guys. And that might mean eating in a restaurant I normally wouldn't eat at because I want to make a video for a sit-down meal for you guys. Or that's where my money's going to go. It's going to go towards something to make more videos and content, and not to pin trading, which it looks like it's a lot of fun though. You know, I don't know, maybe someday, but right now it's not on my radar. Alexis Yekel says, sometimes unions offer slightly discounted ones for their members. Other than that, I've never seen anyone with real discounted tickets. It's true. I have to agree with you, Alexis. Just be very wary of someone who's trying to sell you a discounted Disney ticket. Carol says, what are pass holder events? I would check out the Facebook page for Walt Disney World pass holders, or it's Walt Disney pass holders is what it's called. Very specifically, Walt Disney pass holders is the official Disney Facebook group. Check them out, and they have like lists that come up all the time. And I got a notification the other day, not through email, but I got a notification of Facebook. They've got to keep checking my emails. They're going to have a pass holder event coming up, I think, where it's like an after hours event. I'm really excited about that. Mark and I did that for Magic Kingdom last year. I think it was in October last year, and it was fun. I really liked it. And I kind of want to do another one, so maybe a different park. I'm actually getting ready to wrap up because we've been chatting for about an hour, so let me wrap up with the last couple of things I wanted to give you for tips for traveling solo. I know some of you guys were connecting here in the lab for your upcoming solo trips, but another great place to go to is Disney Parks for Plus-Sized Guests has a meetup group. If you are already a member of Disney Parks for Plus-Sized Guests, there is, I think if you go in the announcements section of that group, there is something from the administrator, founder of the group, Sheila, and there's a list in there with like a link to go to the sister group. But you can just type in to Facebook, Disney Parks for Plus-Size Guests Meetup Group, and then it will take you to that group, and you can apply to become a member of that group. And in there, that's the place where you can go to connect with other plus size Disney fans and make friends and actually set up ways to connect with each other and meet up in the parks. And then that group is run by Melanie, one of the moderators of Disney Parks for Plus Size Guests, is actually like the one who runs the meetup group. And she does, I believe she does monthly meetups in the park, and they have one, I think, that's coming up this weekend in the evening or sometime during the week this week in the evening at like 8 o'clock at night. I can't usually do the ones in the evening, and I've got something going on that day, so I can't attend it, but I do try to go to them if I can. So it's definitely a group to take a look at to try to like set up meetups. I don't do meetups with Pammie Plus Parks on Facebook simply because there's so much involved in it, and it takes a lot of effort to get it put together. So I don't really have the time or ability to do that right now. You never know, someday maybe. Let's see. Christina's asking, have you ever visited any of the spas on property? I heard they have an adult princess makeover now. That's actually kind of a great idea for traveling solo if you want to take a day where you do one of the smaller parks like Hollywood Studios in the morning and take on Hollywood Studios and do the rides there that you want to do, and then maybe take the back half of the day and do a spa day for yourself at one of the resorts. That would be amazing. I have never done a spa day, and I gotta tell you something, I would love to do the adult Disney Princess Makeover. The cool thing about that Disney Princess Makeover is that they don't just do princesses. They will make you over. They don't do like a complete, you don't look exactly like the character you're asking to look like, but they do like sort of like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a it's almost like a Disney bounding of a character, so they give you a look that's similar to or in the likeness of and gives you the feel of a particular character. And they'll do any character you want. It can be a villain, it can be a fur character, it can be a face character, but they'll do your hair and makeup for that. And I would love to do that. That to me would be super fun, but I think it's a couple of $100, so we'll see someday maybe. Oh, I see that Buddy's put a link here. Is that link that you put there, Buddy, is that for Disney Parks for Plus Size Guests meetup group? I hope so. But go check out that link in there that Buddy has put there for you. So I think I got everybody's questions answered and shared everything here. I think we're good to go. I will just wrap it up then. I just want you guys to know that as I mentioned before, there are tons of people who are alone in the parks, whether they're annual pass holders who are going alone, they're cast members on their day off, people who are there traveling for conventions and other things that are in the area that are taking the rest of their day off after their business affairs are over to head into the parks. When you start going alone and you start looking around you, you begin to see that there are tons of people who are there by themselves. And it can be quite the adventure to go on your own, because you're alone, but you're not alone in being alone, because there's lots of other people there who are alone. Some of the most interesting and fun conversations I've had ever in theme parks were when I was on a solo trip and either someone asked me if I was on my own, or complimented my outfit, or asked me directions for something, or asked me if I worked there because they could see that I was by myself, whether it was another cast member. I have a lot of other people who come up to me and start talking to me who are there on their own, who happen to be off-duty cast members, and you just have some of the best conversations that way. I've learned a lot of cool stuff about the parks from people who are there, who are former cast members, and because sometimes there's retired former cast members who are there, and sometimes they're with other people, but they see you alone and they think you work there and you're on your day off, and they strike up a conversation. I don't know, being alone is fantastic for talking to other people and learning about the parks and seeing all the amazing details that are there and just kind of absorbing everything around you and getting to do everything you ever dreamed of doing with as little hassle as possible. Yes, there's the downside of being on your own and not being able to turn to your friends and laugh and make a comment or joke about something. But, there is something refreshing about taking a little time for yourself, by yourself, to do something you truly enjoy. it is revitalizing, and it's a wonderful reward for all the hard work you do in your life. And you deserve to treat yourself and do something you really, really love. And you will come back from that vacation refreshed and feeling fantastic. And every single person I've known who's gone on a solo trip gets a bug for traveling solo, whether it's to Disney or other theme parks or other places in the world. It just gets you going, you know? It's fantastic. Uh-oh, I see my husband's in here now. What is he doing? Mark wants me to get off the live chat to go watch a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie with him. Oh, and you don't... Buddy's asking him which one we're going to watch. Oh, no, you guys. I got to go watch some Jean-Claude Van Damme. Goodness gracious. All right, guys. It is time to wrap up because it's Jean-Claude Van Damme time. You didn't know I watched Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, but I do all the time. I'm not saying I like it. But I do watch them, so it's time to get off the live chat and go spend some time with my husband. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your lives to chat with me and share with me, for sharing all the tips and tricks that you have. And if you're watching this chat after it has taken place and it's posted as video, please leave your tips and your wisdom and your tricks and all the things that you do to enjoy your solo trips down in the comments below so we can all read them and learn from them. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I hope that you guys have a magical night. And remember, life is a roller coaster. Enjoy the ride. Good night, everyone.